then they have cans of soup. And they throw the cans of soup. That's better than a brick because you can't throw a brick, it's too heavy. But a can of soup, you can really put some power into that, right? And then when they get caught, they say, no, this is soup from my family. They're so innocent. This is soup from my family. It's incredible. And you have people coming over with bags of soup, big bags of soup, and they lay it on the ground, and the anarchists take it and they start throwing it at our cops, at our police. And if it hits you, that's worse than a brick because it's got force. It's the perfect size. It's like made perfect. And when they get caught, they say, no, this is just soup from my family. And then the media says, this is just soup. These people are very, very innocent. They're innocent people. Everybody comes in, your grandmother, everybody comes in, your grandmother, your father, your mother, your brother, your cousins. They come in so easily, so crazy, so crazy.
I don't know who created Pokemon Go, but I try to figure out how we get them to have Pokemon go to the polls.
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Every day it is time for us to agree.
And then they have cans of soup. And they throw the cans of soup. That's better than a brick because you can't throw a brick, it's too heavy. But a can of soup, you can really put some power into that, right? And then when they get caught, they say, no, this is soup from my family. They're so innocent. This is soup from my family. It's incredible. And you have people coming over with bags of soup, big bags of soup, and they lay it on the ground, and the anarchists take it and they start throwing it at our cops, at our police. And if it hits you, that's worse than a brick because it's got force. It's the perfect size. It's like made perfect. And when they get caught, they say, no, this is just soup from my family. They had a very bad original concept. It was carried out poorly, and the cover-up was one of the worst in the history of cover-ups. Very simple. Bad deal, should have never been thought of. Somebody really messed up, and they had the worst cover-up ever. And where it should have stopped is at the deal standpoint, when they thought about it.
Testing. Testing. Hi, Max. I'm talking to the TV again. You gotta get the hell out of here. You're gonna crash the party. Testing. 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 Hello? Testing. Goddamn. Testing. Hello? Hello? Testing. Testing. Well, Environmental Coffee House, the only reason I changed my Twitter name is because I was on that, like, Twitter hit list for having anti-fascist in my Twitter name, so I just changed it to something else. You know, it's not that deep. But hello, users. Welcome to the program. Are these, like, new YouTube emojis? What is this shit? Did they replace the old ones? What is that? Shroom pajama bottoms. I need those. I got the top. I need the bottom. Anyway. Testing. Oh, I feel you, Sandy. I feel you. I'm in and out of it. Comes and goes in waves, you know. Testing. Testing. Hi, Max. Max, do you want to come uppy? Would you come uppy if I gave you the chance? Hold up. Let's see if it happens. Max, you want to come uppy? Oh, you got a tennis ball. Look at this. Hold up. Oh, he's moving. Max, what the fuck? Max, give me that tennis ball. I gotta go play tennis. He's stealing my tennis ball. Max, how am I gonna play tennis? What the fuck? I don't actually play tennis. Anyway. Got a show. This dog is circling me. I don't know if you can see his tail pop up. But he loves to circle me up. Here he comes again, going for another lap. Yep. Testing. This is the Above It All show, brought to you by nobody other than the people that give me money on a weekly, sometimes daily basis. So thank you all to the funders of the program. And, you know, I would just say this, about 15% of all contributions to this channel go to the tennis ball fund for Max the dog. So, you know, there you go. 15% of all contributions go to the tennis ball fund. That's a shame. Environmental Coffee House. I am sorry to hear that. Getting old sucks, so I'm starting to feel a little bit of that, and I'm only 26. GG stands for good game. It also stands for Gate Guardian, but that's a whole different story. But yeah, I'm already 26, and I feel like I'm about to hit my midlife crisis, but when you think about it, transgender people have an average life expectancy of about 35 to 40, so factoring that in, I should be experiencing my midlife crisis, so, you know, there you go. But I'm experiencing the midlife crisis, and needless to say, I'm coping. Some would even say I'm seething, though that remains to be seen. What are these new, like, YouTube emoji things? What is that shit? It's crazy. Anyway, I'm planning on living to the age of 200. That's my goal. So, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, this is my 10% life crisis, you know. I'm going for it. You know, I mean, that's the thing. If I fall a little bit short, 173, you know, I'll take 173. My goal is 200. I'll take 173, you know, 169 maybe, you know. Either way, I got a lot left to deal with, so. Fun P with the meat tax. I'm ashamed of the slider I just ingested. Y'all that's the thing with the slider. Is like, I know you're like unwrapping some like fucking low quality like White Castle frozen food into the microwave for like 85 seconds. Like, that's not a slider. That's just depression incarnate. You know, that's the physical manifestation of addiction and depression, but like, you know, all in the bad way, you know. Jesus. Will I be streaming the Above It All program till you're 200 years old? That's the plan. That's the goal. That's the plan. I have I believe my great-grandfather lived to older than 100. I'm pretty sure I remember my family talking about him dying when I was young. And that motherfucker was like 103 or some shit. Something like that. I know he made it over 100, so, hey, if motherfuckers can make it over 100 in my family and they smoke every day, then conversely, I got the other side of my family where everyone dies at the age of like 40. So, you know, what are you gonna do? Can't win them all. But you know, let's see if I can balance that out a little bit. See what I got. But anyway, I do have a couple news stories I want to talk about today. I'll be jumping into a film review. I have a lot to say on a film that I watched last night. It's not a film I've seen for the first time, but it feels like it. And we'll be going into that. Hello, Shayna. How's it going? It's not often I see you here, so hello. Yep, I would like to also say that, you know, this is primarily a news and politics program. But I also value arts and culture. And I think more people, especially if you do follow the news every day, you're most likely not going to be doing so well, emotionally and mentally, you know, just based on what's going on. And so I do want to try to accentuate that part of the show a little bit more. I would love to, you know, find a way to get you motherfuckers to watch movies that I like. So, you know, I had the letter hack on the show the other day, and we were discussing a top 25 movies to watch on drugs list. And so I want to, you know, I want to craft that list, and then I want everyone in my chat to watch all of the movies on the list on drugs. That would be the ideal. Like, if that could occur, you know, we could get, like, the average IQ of this chat up another couple dozen points. Not to say it's low as it is. But, yeah. So, anyway, y'all, I really want you to pay attention to this movie review I'm going to do at the end of the show. Because it's a deep one, so, but anyway, got to do some news first. And needless to say, the news, not good. So, I don't live in New York City, which is a good thing, depending on how you look at it. Well, no, it's just a good thing in general. If you live in New York City, I feel sorry for you. But anyway, this is the New York City mayor. He did like this speech. And it's really bad. New York mayor says NYPD and first responders can involuntarily commit those in mental health crises. Now, again, who defines what a mental health crisis is? And also, people that are experiencing a mental health crisis are going to be less likely to call for help. Now, again, if someone's experiencing a mental health crisis, the last thing you want to do is call the cops. So, honestly, I'm not going to lie. This might be a net positive if it gets less people calling the cops. So, but that remains to be seen. But again, who dictates whether or not someone's in a mental health crisis? The cops? So essentially, what this means is police have now a right to involuntarily commit anybody that they want. If someone is homeless and they're walking around at night, cops can just jump in, arrest them, throw them in a mental facility against their will. And a lot of mental health care facilities that are run by the state are garbage. Garbage. But let's get into some more details. New York City Mayor Eric Adams on Tuesday directed first responders to enforce a state law that allows them to potentially involuntarily, I love the words, potentially, involuntarily commit people experiencing a mental health crisis as part of an attempt to address concerns about homelessness and crime. So, okay, someone is experiencing a mental health crisis. They get thrown in the slammer for 3 to 7 days. They get out. They check their phone. Oh, 8 missed calls from my boss. Oh, I got fired for no call, no showing. Oh, great. Oh, and now rent's due. And I'm not getting paid. So, what? Like, in order to combat homelessness, you're going to snatch people off the streets, throw them somewhere, steal all their shit, throw them in a fucking facility for a week, and that's not going to damage their lives? And again, who dictates whether or not someone is experiencing a mental health crisis? A cop? I don't know if y'all have ever met any cops, but cops are the least qualified motherfuckers on the planet when it comes to mental health. Adams said it was a myth that first responders can only involuntarily commit those who displayed an overt act that they may be suicidal. What is this myth? Who's out there saying, oh, I heard? Like, where's a myth? What? Who is propagating this myth? What? Instead, he said the law allowed first responders to involuntarily commit those who cannot meet their own, quote, basic human needs. A lower bar? What does that mean? What does that mean? You can't meet your basic human needs. What does that mean? Why is it that all this language, all these laws, they never have specific stuff in them? It's always vague nonsense. New York Police Department officers and first responders will get additional training to help them make such evaluations, and a team of mental health technicians will be available. Oh, we got technicians. That's great. Either via a hotline or video chat. Oh, that's great. So you just chat with someone on the phone. That's just basically, this is like the free rubber stamp, you know, like they have some motherfuckers call them on the phone. Hey, I got one here. All right, cool. And then they just put the stamp on it. Adams said first responders weren't consistently enforcing the law because they were unsure of its scope, reserving it only for cases that appeared the most serious. You know, again, these people are crazy. Mixed response from the city advocates. The directive led to a mixed response from officials. Now, mixed response is, again, putting it nicely. Quote, this is a long-standing and very complex issue, NYPD Commissioner Keechant Sewell said in a statement, and we will continue to work closely. I don't give a shit. Donna Lieberman, executive director of the New York Civil Liberties Union, in a statement called the move an attempt to police away homelessness and sweep individuals out of sight. The mayor is playing fast and loose with the legal rights of New Yorkers and is not dedicating the resources necessary to address the mental health crises that affect our communities, Lieberman said. The federal and state constitutions impose strict limits on the government's ability to detain people experiencing mental illness, limits that the mayor's proposed expansion is likely to violate. Forcing people into treatment is a failed strategy for connecting people to long-term treatment and care. And again, these facilities that they would be using are underfunded, staffed with ghouls that don't listen or care about people, right? It's just like, I don't know. I have never been to one of these involuntary mental health areas, but I know a lot of people who have. And oftentimes what they do is they just strap you to a table and pump you full of drugs for a week. And then they just like throw you outside and you got nothing, right? And again, I've heard a lot of stories of people getting involuntarily committed. And then as soon as they get out, they learn that they got fired for, again, no call, no show. Because it's not like, oh, shit, I'm being rushed into this place. Let me call my boss and tell them that I just got involuntary. Like, that doesn't happen. And even if you did, your boss is going to go like, oh, shit, that's a fucking freak. So they're going to fire you anyway. Right? Like, if these facilities were actually designed to help people, that would be a whole different... We would have a whole different conversation about this. But these facilities are not designed to help people. So anyway, there's some news there. We can go a little bit more in depth, but just another piece of information in Hell World, USA. But hey, it might be a net positive because more people learn about this. They might be less likely to call the cops in the first place. Which, hey, let's silver lining, right? Silver lining, right? Let's hope for the best. So got a show going on today. Today is the day for the show to occur. Yeah, I've been, lately my mood has been very fluctuating, highly fluctuating. What is a better word? Highly fluctuating, but like not with an ing, I don't know. But lately I've been feeling pretty good. I've been trying to read more. That's been nice. One of the things that I've kind of tried to do is only look at news before noon. Every once in a while I'll go on Twitter, but I'm not outwardly seeking news. Usually my routine would be just refreshing news apps and, everything and all that. But I'm trying to only do that in the morning nowadays. Incidentally, people will send me stuff. That's all good. But, just trying to focus on other stuff. But, got a new show, so I'm going to jump in. But the other day, I started the Nicolas Cage book that I bought a while ago, so that's what I'm currently reading. I don't know if volatile is the right word. Volatile sounds a little bit too nefarious. The sound? You know what I mean? I don't know if it's that bad. But anyway, so reminder to subscribe to my second YouTube channel, the Doom Speedrunning channel. I'm about 24% of the way to monetization. I know it's a lot slower than I would appreciate, because you lazy, fuckface, ungrateful pieces of human slime viewers are refusing to subscribe. I don't know why. But again, 24% of the way there. So hit me up. I can get monetized on that bitch, and then and that'd be pretty cool. Or don't. And then I'll have a negative opinion. But if you haven't subscribed yet, that's a problem. But if you have subscribed, you're all good. Everything is fine until I find something else to yell at you for, which will happen. It will happen. But you get a short reprieve. All right, let's jump in. We're going to jump in. We got to Max the dog here, and now he's gone. Like, he comes up, I pet him, and then he's like, all right, that's enough, and goes to... And now he's in the hallway. All right, anyway. This goddamn dog. I was doing some shrooms last night, and I got caught in a loop of... Well, I was watching movies, and Max the dog is, of course, laying on the bed. And I got caught in a loop of just, like, staring at him. And then I was petting him. I was interacting with him. And then he started smiling at me. And I was, like... I was, internally I was crying. It was, you never... I don't even know how to describe it. But when you're on drugs and you're staring at a happy doggy... Goddamn. So I'm just throwing that out there. Love that dog. But he's in the hallway. Oh, he's woofing. Oh. He's looking at someone through the window or something. I don't know. He likes to yell at people that walk by the house. Anyway, got some news here. I don't know. Is this news? School principals say culture wars made last year, quote, rough as hell. That's how one high school principal in Nevada described the 2021 to 22 school year, when conflicts with parents and community members were all too common. Quote, something needs to change or else we will all quit, says another principal in California. Those voices are part of a new nationally representative survey of 682 public high school principals, many of whom describe a level of tension and division within their broader school communities that is not only high, but, in the words of one Utah principal, making the job harder than, quote, than any other era in my 20 years of administrative experience. John Rogers, a professor of education at UCLA, helped lead the survey efforts and says while an earlier 2018 survey of principals revealed conflict spilling into schools, what's different in 2022 is that a lot of the political conflict is being targeted at public schools, especially in narrowly divided purple districts. Now, again, there being political issues in the community is one thing. But again, these political issues being like right-wingers, like storming school libraries and like threatening children, showing up to events where kids are at with like, phones, going like, are there groomers here? Where are the groomers? You go, calling cops on like again, these motherfuckers are crazy and it's only the right wing. Like, I need you to understand the culture war is a misnomer. There is no culture war, okay? It's the right wing and conservatives harassing the fuck out of everybody else who just wants to live their lives. That's it. It's not a war. War implies both sides. There's only one side. Everyone else wants to live their lives in peace. Right wingers, being freaks, want to destroy everyone else's happiness. That's it. More than 2/3, 69%, of principals surveyed report, quote, substantial political conflict with parents or members of the community last year over several controversial topics, such as teaching about issues of race and racism, policies and practices related to LGBTQ+ student rights, social emotional learning and student access to books in the school library. What is social emotional learning, by the way? That's essentially not abusing the fuck out of children. So the standard and the norm in society is abusing the fuck out of children every step of the way. That's just how society treats kids. Wearing them down, grinding them down, abusing them, treating them like garbage. That's how society treats kids normally. Now, a lot of schools have tried to specifically learn about the damages that has, childhood trauma and abuse in the school system and in parental systems. And they tried to adapt to a better way, to take all of those criticisms into account, create a better way of interacting with students that focuses on socialization so that they can better be better members of their communities in the future. And, again, so that's social emotional learning, is helping kids learn in groups, be tolerant of one another, to be less aggressive, less bullying. Right-wingers don't like that. Now, again, I need you to understand this, and I know a lot of people might get triggered by this, but it's an objective fact. This is reality. Conservatives, by very nature of being conservative, if they have kids, they abuse their children. Why is that? Why do I say that? Because if you teach your child to be a conservative, that's abuse. That's abuse. You are brainwashing them and permanently debilitating them for the rest of their lives in actually participating in the real world. If you teach a child to hate black people, and then they're 20 years old and they leave shitfuck bumfuck Arkansas, and they get a job, and they have a black coworker, and they engage in racist behavior, now again, they should know better. They should know better, but again, their parents brainwash them and force them to have to deal with you can call it a mental illness, that takes a lot of time to unlearn. Why do you think we're dealing with these crazy fucking psychopathic right fucking wingers all day, every day? Right? It's generational. They teach kids very early to be fucked up motherfuckers just like them. And now again, look at the Club Q shooting. Look at the shooter's father. The shooter's father, when finding out that their kid was at a gay bar, to commit a mass murder, their initial reaction was, oh God, thank God they're not gay. Because I'm a Republican. I taught my kid to be violent. He was proud of this. He was proud that he taught his child, a mass shooter, to be violent and to hate gay people. So then that kid went out there, 22 years old, was violent against gay people. Right? That is an extreme example. But again, you teach children to hate other people, they're going to hate other people, and it's going to ruin their lives. Because ultimately, right, what's going to happen is these children are going to grow up, and they're going to hate whatever minority group that you taught them to. And then they're going to be face to face with these minorities in the real world, and it's going to cause problems, right? They might get fired for workplace harassment. They might get sent to jail for beating the shit out of a gay person, right? It ruins everybody's lives. It ruins minorities' lives for having to put up with this constant fucking harassment from every fucking body. Constant fucking harassment. But it ruins the people's lives that are the harassers, because then they're going to have to live their entire life being a hateful fucking moron. They're more likely to end up in jail. It's not good for anybody when you can just teach kids to be normal and to be tolerant, and then everyone is better off. Schools in purple districts saw more political conflict. Nearly half, 45%, of principals surveyed say the level of parent-community conflict they saw last year was either more or much more than anything they've seen before the pandemic. Just 3% say they feel less conflict than last year. Principals cite many stressors, including a kind of ambient anxiety created by the pandemic, that was then exacerbated by the spread of misinformation on social media, the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement, the divisive tenure of former President Trump, and most importantly, the role of national, largely conservative organizations in galvanizing parents and turning schools into a culture war battleground. In fact, the more politically divided a community is, the more likely principals are to say their schools have been riven by conflict. I like that word. Researchers found that schools in purple congressional districts where Trump won 45 to 54% of the vote in 2020 were more likely to experience acute levels of political conflict than schools in blue districts where the vote for Trump dipped below 45, or in red districts where Trump support exceeded 55. And those political conflicts can also play out between students. Now, again, think about this. Why is that? Do you want to know why? Whatever answer they're going to come up with, I don't know if they're even going to try to figure that answer out, but I'm going to give you the real answer as to why that is the case. Why is it that most of the conflicts are in purple areas? Because that's where the money is. It's that simple. That's where the money is. All of these so-called concerned parent action groups are astroturfed and financed by right-wing donors, mega donors, PACs, etc. What they do is they go into these purple districts, flood them with money, give them to these groups that then reach out and find parents to do the dirty work, right? Give them a lot of money, tell them where to go, what to say, how to say it. It's all astroturfed. Now, again, you see a lot of it naturally because we have a lot of stupid motherfuckers in this country. But the reason why it's mostly targeting purple districts is because of the money. They literally go to these districts, collect lists, email lists, phone number lists, whatever, of parents that are willing to do the work for them, and then coach them, and then send them off in the real world to do their crazy fucking bidding. There's no coincidence as to why this is mostly occurring in purple districts. You would think this would be, again, if what these right-wingers, like if they were truly believing what they said, you would think it would be more likely that this would occur in blue districts. You would think in states where it's like 70%, 80% Democratic voting, you would think the minority of Trumpers and conservatives would be even more ready to fight for what they believe in. But they don't. Why? Because these big Republican donor networks know it's a waste of fucking time and money. So, there's that answer for you. Almost 7 of 10, 69%, once again with the 69s here, of principals report, quote, students have made demeaning or hateful remarks toward classmates for expressing either liberal or conservative views. Quote, I had to come down and help the teacher like a veteran teacher who's never had problems having discussions, remembers one Iowa principal, and the kids were just so stuck in their trenches, they weren't willing to be open to even listen to the other side. Now, again, this principal sounds like a fucking moron, but they're in Iowa, so there's a good chance that they are. There is no other side. I need you to understand this. Now, again, I don't necessarily support bullying conservatives as a whole, like as a 100% time. Bullying a conservative kid, it might feel good in like that revenge fantasy of like, I'm going to bully the bully. But really what you need to do is bully the parents. Right? These kids are a reflection of their families. Kids don't really have beliefs, really. I mean, maybe in high schools, right? Like, they start to develop beliefs, but even then, most of the time, what kids believe is a reflection of their environment that they're growing up in. But again, there is no both sides. There's one side, right? Normal people who just want to live their lives and who want their friends to live their lives in peace and harmony. And then the freaks. Those are conservatives. The freaks. Right? It's just that simple. This isn't a both sides. This isn't a culture war. It's normal people and freaks. right? Like the way, like, what are these arguments about? About critical race theory, right? About LGBTQ plus rights. What are they arguing about? And what are both sides? What could both sides possibly be? I know what one side is. They want other minority groups to have less rights. I'm allowed to go to the doctor, but you can't. I'm allowed to go get this job, but you can't. That's one side. The other side is like, that's a little weird. We're all human, bro. That's the other side, right? To say that these are equal, to say that it's a war is ridiculous. There's a bunch of social reject freaks that want to project their hate and garbage on the rest of normal fucking society. Misinformation is making it hard to teach a lot of things, including media literacy. This is a big one, folks. How do we get to the point where people believe in stuff like critical race theory? I'm going to play a video here. I know I've gotten a lot of use out of this video. I'm going to play this video. I've gotten a lot of use out of this one, and it's evergreen, right? So this is a clip. This is, I believe it was 2019, the Virginia governor's race, of the folks from The Good Liars. They do like funny comedy skits and interview stupid people, asking this old man what he thought about critical race theory in elementary schools. Now again, fact, what is the real world? There is no critical race theory in elementary schools. It doesn't exist. It's not real, okay? But this guy is convinced. Let's watch.
What's the most important issue in the governor's race here in Virginia?
Getting back to the basics of teaching children, not teaching them critical race theory.
And what is critical race theory?
Well, I'm not going to get into the specifics of it because I don't understand it that much, but it's something that what little bit that I know I don't care for.
And what have you heard that you don't?
Well,
that you don't like?
I'm not going to. I don't have that much knowledge on it, but It's something that I don't care for.
What's the most?
It never gets old. It never gets old. But I need you to understand. They believe it. They believe it. It's not real. They believe it. And why is that? Because of this. Media literacy. These people actually think, oh, I heard it on TV, therefore it's true. They actually believe that. They actually, I know. To anyone who has any form of media literacy, I know it sounds ridiculous. They watch TV or they scroll through Facebook. They see something. They believe it without question. Scroll past it. Do no research. They read headlines. Right? They don't do any research. They don't look at it. They don't fact check it. That comes down to media literacy. I can say that, you see, this is my camera, but behind the camera, there's a parade of juggling clowns. You can't hear them, and you can't see them because the camera's pointing this way. But I swear to y'all, there's some juggling clowns over there. And it's impressive because they're doing all kinds of tricks, but they're not making any noise. It's actually really interesting to watch. Now, again, a conservative would hear that and go, oh shit, there's clowns. Oh, that's great. And a lot of this stems, I know people will get triggered, a lot of this stems from religion. What is the oldest form of media illiteracy? Religion. People get told that God exists and that he's watching them, and they believe it. How? How? They just do. And if you're able to be duped into believing that God is a thing or that Jesus is a thing, it's not much of a stretch to then believe that critical race theory exists in elementary schools, or that lefties are grooming kids and chopping them up in secret hospitals and neo-Nazi experiments, Motherfuckers out there believing in Muhammad. Motherfuckers out there believing in fucking Moses. It's not that much of a... Like, they actually believe that, like, this motherfucker was like, woo! And then the waves go like, and then he's walking down on the fucking bottom of the ocean or whatever. It's not much of a stretch to believe that they're teaching critical race theory to children. Come on, think about this. Think about this. I know a lot of people get triggered. Why do you bring religion up all the time? Have you seen the fucking world? Motherfuckers believe Jesus was turning water into wine. Why wouldn't they think that gay people are grooming kids and chopping them up and selling their body parts? By the way, the same group of people that believes that lefties are groomers and chopping up children are also in favor of circumcision. So, God tells you it's okay to cut your kid's dick off so they can't experience sex the way that God theoretically would have intended, right? For the rest of their lives. You're permanently disfiguring them so that they can't experience sex. But if a 16-year-old wants to get an elective procedure, all of a sudden it's hell on earth. So a baby can't consent. Impossible to consent. That's fine. Cut their dick off. It's all good. God told me to. It's part of God's plan, bro. When they're 16 and they can consent, oh, you're so young, you can't consent? In many places, according to the survey, misinformation sparked fires of conflict. Quote, we had a group of parents that went bananas on us on the masking and believed that we were encouraging kids to get a shot that surely had a microchip in it because the government wanted to control their brains. Remembers one Nevada principal? The same principal who says he is a registered Republican in a predominantly conservative district worries that parents' belief in misinformation has had a chilling effect on schools' ability to talk about current events and even recent history. Now, again, this is a fucking moron if they're a Republican, right? Part of the problem, you created this scenario. It's all your fault, essentially. I don't know about all, but it is, anyone who engages in Republicanism is part of the problem. Quote, you can't use newspapers anymore. You can't use CNN because the parents will go nuts on you. You can't use Fox because it's so out there. It's hard to teach kids about what's going on in any kind of context because there is no context. Nearly 2/3, 64% of principals report that parents or community members pushed back against information used in classrooms. And this tug of war over facts, quote, grew almost threefold in purple communities between 2018 and 2020. Again, that's all because of money. Quote, the only way I think we're going to get out of a situation like this is teaching kids, and maybe even the greater public at large, what is good information. How do you do that? Re-education? We need it. Okay, you can read the rest of this, but I'm going to, harassment of LGBTQ plus students is rising. Principals believe the majority of parents don't support these conflicts, right? Schools in purple districts were more likely to put limits on teaching about race and racism. So, again, you can read the rest of this. You can imagine that in your brain, what's going on. But the only way out of this, and again, this will never happen. I need you to understand, there is no will for this. Mandatory re-education. That's it. That's it. That's the only way out of this. And now again, am I going to say that that's a silver bullet and that it's going to work guaranteed? No. No. I'm not even sure that that would work. Okay? Just to be completely honest with you, I'm not convinced mandatory re-education would work. But I'm saying that is the best option we have. An entire generation of parents who don't know anything and who are reactionary bigots raising kids has serious fucking consequences. It has serious fucking consequences. When you have parents that teach their children the lack of teaching teaching them ignorance, teaching them to be immune to new information. And how do you fix that? Mandatory re-education. It's the only hope we have. That's the only hope we have. We can't agree on what color the sky is. How is that possible? How is it possible that people are walking around right now and they don't know what color the sky is? There are people right now walking around who don't know who the president is. There are people walking around right now that think that there is a giant epidemic of children getting chopped up in hospitals, but it's not circumcision, it's gay people. What do you do with that? There's a whole group of the population that believes that kids are being indoctrinated into thinking that black people are superior to white people and that all white people are evil. What do you do when that happens? How? Other than mandatory re-education, and I don't even know how that would happen. I wouldn't trust the current government to do that. I don't know who I would trust, and that's another part of the problem. But all I know is what the fuck do we do when there is a 20 to 30% of the population that just, they don't know what color the sky is, to put it in the most simplistic terms. These motherfuckers out there thinking that we breathe in carbon dioxide and exhale oxygen. That's how lost they are. Now you might think 20 to 30% of the population, that's 1 in 5, motherfucker. 1 in 5. When you're waiting in line at the grocery store and there's 5 motherfuckers in line, chances are one of them believes that critical race theory is teaching kids to chop up their whatever. What do you do? How do you move on from that? Oh. So anyway, there's that. Fun P, I can't live with the guilt. It was 4 sliders and 2 rolling rocks. Well, the rolling rocks, that's fine. You know, some rolling rocks are way over here. I'll take a couple. But the sliders, that's a problem. That's the thing. Fun P, this motherfucker out here, has enough money to give me super chats, but can't buy impossible sliders. Y'all motherfuckers, like, just buy that fucking Beyond Beef. Buy the impossible version. You're out here giving me $10, well, $9.98 of super chats. For Christ's sake, use that money on better quality food. Gay marriage approval is 70%. That's exactly what I mean. 30%. There's going to be 30% that are fucking crazy. When I see gay marriage approval at 70%, that makes me fucking depressed. That makes me borderline suicidal. 1 in 5 Americans want me dead. That's fucking crazy. That's fucking insane. But that's the real world. That's reality. 1 in 5 Americans want people like me to die. That is fucking insane. The arc of the moral universe bends toward justice is some made up fucking garbage. That's not real. It's made up fucking garbage. And you know, I know it feels good to say it, but it's made up fucking garbage. It's as fantastical as believing that kids are being taught and indoctrinated that black people are better than white people, and that groomers are all gay people are groomers and they're chopping up kids and transing them. It's as fantastical. There is no arc of the moral universe. There is no such thing as justice, and nothing is bending. That's all made up fairy tale garbage. Now, it feels good to say, I agree, but it is as ridiculous as any other MAGA conspiracy. Because there's no evidence. People like me, the transgenders, we were doing a lot better 3,000, 4,000 years ago than we are now. Society-wise. A lot of indigenous populations treated people like me as like gods. I want to go back to that, for Christ's sake. I want to go back to that. You know, but because, you know, at least someone respected me at some point. All right. Now let's have some fun. I'm going to have a little fun news story, and then we're going to jump into a movie review. And I want you to watch this movie review. I want you to watch the movie, but I want you to watch my review as well. Unless you haven't seen the movie, you know, but I'm going to be talking about a real banger. But first, let's, we got to talk about it. Trump lashes out at Kanye West as aides rush to reinstate guardrails at Mar-a-Lago. Quote, he tried to fuck me. He's crazy. He can't beat me, Trump says of Kanye West. The backlash over former President Donald Trump's pre-Thanksgiving meal with an anti-Semitic rapper, Kanye West, and white nationalist Nick Fuentes. It's way easier to just say neo-Nazis, Kanye West, and Nick Fuentes. That's way easier. I don't know why we have to come up with this creative writing shit. They're both neo-Nazis. They have the same ideology. Has led the twice-impeached ex-president's aides to revive a 2020-era measure used to keep him from embarrassing himself, while Mr. Trump is reportedly blaming the disgraced musician for the negative press. Now again, think about this. Trump is not embarrassed that he had dinner with neo-Nazis that he invited, right? That's not the embarrassing part. He's only upset because the media is making fun of him. Again, this is not ideological. I need you to know this. This is not ideological. Donald Trump is not offended that he dined with neo-Nazis that he invited. He invited neo-Nazi number 1. You can't be surprised when neo-Nazi number 2 shows up. When you give neo-Nazis a +1, whoa, I didn't think they would invite another neo-Nazi. Right, so again, he's not upset that he had dinner with neo-Nazis. That was the plan. He's upset at how the media is treating it and how Kanye West, is making it worse. Needless to say, Donald Trump would have rather had dinner with Nick Fuentes alone than with Nick Fuentes and Kanye West, because Kanye West is insane, and he's turning this into another media circus. And Trump is feeling some fire. He would have rather had dinner with just the other neo-Nazi. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. According to a source who spoke to NBC News, Mr. Trump has directed his anger at Mr. West, who just 2 years ago waged a third-party presidential campaign aimed at siphoning votes off from Joe Biden to help the then-president win re-election. Now, again, Kanye West 2020 run, if you can even call it that, it was barely a run. You know, a lot of it was just a write-in campaign. It turned out afterward, all funded by right-wingers. It had 99+% funding from right-wing mega donors. Quote, he tried to fuck me. He's crazy. He can't beat me. Now, do I think Kanye West actually tried to engage in sexual intercourse with Donald Trump? No. He's saying fuck me as in tactically, strategically, in the political presidential primary field. But it is funny language. It is funny language. Okay? It's hilarious language. The ex-president said, referring to Mr. West's stated intention about another campaign for the presidency with an eye toward the 24 general election. According to reports, it was Mr. West who brought Mr. Fuentes, a Holocaust denier and white nationalist who has long been one of Mr. Trump's most vocal supporters, to the... Now, again, I just want to say this. Nick Fuentes, I don't know, long been one of Mr. Trump's most vocal supporters. I don't think so. There was a whole arc after the election when Nick Fuentes said that Donald Trump was not right-wing enough. I don't know if anyone paid attention to Nick Fuentes during January 6th. A lot of mainstream media didn't know who he was. But people like us, you know, that pay attention to, you know, the granularity of politics and that have these online news shows, right? We knew who this guy was. This guy was lambasting Donald Trump from the right. One of Nick Fuentes' most famous rants is when Donald Trump and Republicans would talk about getting the black vote. Nick Fuentes said, why do we need black people in the Republican Party? He thinks that black people in the Republican Party are a bad thing. He said this multiple times. He said that the idea of Republicans trying to reach out to black voters is a disgrace. So again, I don't know, longtime supporter, you know, just to add some additional context there. NBC reported that the dinner was initially supposed to be a two-man affair for Mr. Trump to sit down with his friend in the wake of the Mr. West weird ass, like, come on now, public expulsion by multiple business partners who no longer wanted to be associated with him following a series of racist and anti-Semitic remarks on social media and elsewhere, as Trump referred to them, some rough statements on Jewish. Instead, Mr. West, who now legally goes by the mononym Ye, also theoretically pronounced Yee, brought a trio of guests, including Mr. Fuentes, an ex-campaign aide, Karen Giorno, and an online troll, former Breitbart news staffer, Milo Yiannopoulos. By the way, not enough people are talking about how Milo Yiannopoulos literally, and I'm not making this up, said that he thinks now again, he's an ex-gay. He's an ex-gay, okay? Now he's an ex-gay anyway. Milo Yiannopoulos' most famous statement in the media was that he encourages adult men to have sex with children because he thinks it helps children mature. You know, children should have sex with men so that people can teach them how to really have sex and all that weird ass shit, okay? Not enough people are talking about how the most out and proud example of a groomer that we've seen in this media space is also, just so happens, a Republican neo-Nazi who, by the way, Marjorie Taylor Greene hired Milo Yiannopoulos to work on her congressional staff at one point. I don't know if he's still working there, but at one point, that was actually how he slid back into mainstream political discourse. He got canceled by the right for that shit, right? That was way back in remember when the right wing canceled groomers? That was like way back in like 2017 or something. He came back because Marjorie Taylor Greene gave him a congressional staffing position. So I'm just throwing that one out there. In response to the nearly universal and bipartisan outrage from the news that Mr. Trump broke bread with controversial figures, aides to Mr. Trump are making arrangements to keep at least one staffer from his nascent presidential campaign at his side at nearly all times. The decision revives a similar arrangement that was in place during his presidency to keep him from coming across people who could bring political headaches for him. Now again, it's not about the ideology. It's about if he wants to meet with neo-Nazis, he has to do it without more press. If he wants to meet with neo-Nazis, it has to be on the phone, on a burner phone. If he wants to meet with neo-Nazis, they have to be in an undisclosed location that the media doesn't know about. He has no problem having meetings with neo-Nazis. The problem is the publicity that he gets afterwards. So again, you know, and again, the quote, "he tried to fuck me," is pretty funny. Yeah. I mean, it's funny, but, you know, this guy was the president for 4 years. Right? So, that's not funny. But it's a little funny. There you go. Oh, Oh my god, my back is getting some good stretching. Where the hell is that Max dog? Max! 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 Oh, here he is. Here he is. Hi, Max. You want to come uppy? You want to come uppy, Max? Here. Come uppy. Come on. Come on. They want to see you. They want to see you. They want to see... Ah! It's Max dog. Hi. It's the Max dog. Look at him. Max, you're uppy. Look at this fucking creature. Holy fuck. Look at that fucking creature. What a beautiful, majestic baby boy. I'm going to be doing a film review here. I have a lot to say. It's a banger. It's a banger. I don't know what else to tell you. It is a banger. So, last night I watched a horror film. And horror is putting it lightly. This may be one of the best, if not the best, horror films ever made. And you know, when I think about this, I think of other great movies like The Shining, The Exorcist, you know, in terms of horror. But this movie is incredible. What movie am I talking about? Jacob's motherfucking Ladder. I watched this movie while I was, you know, moderately dosed on magic mushrooms. I was not gonna lie, I was fucked up. And I've seen this movie before as a fan of the Silent Hill series of video games. I know that this movie directly inspired the Silent Hill games in a lot of ways. So I watched it a long time ago, but watching this film on mushrooms, I gotta tell you, man, it fucked me up. It fucked me up. It fucked me up. And I'm not gonna lie, I was scared. Like, I was horrified. There were parts of this movie that had me, like in tears a little bit. Like, at least at the verge, you know. This is a scary fucking movie. Now, again, I just want to come out here and tell you that this is a perfect movie. There is not a single flaw in this entire film. It is a perfect movie. And if you disagree, you're stupid, and you need to do some research, read a couple books, and watch it again. If you don't think this movie is perfect, you are dumb. You have a low IQ. And I say that with all due respect. You know, I feel bad for you. I do. But this movie is perfect. And I will explain why. Visually, right? This is a 1990 film, right? So, you know, visually the effects are all practical. There's a lot of monsters in this movie. Again, if you've played the Silent Hill games, you know, you're familiar with some of the monsters. A lot of them in the Silent Hill games are directly pulled from Jacob's Ladder. The monsters are disgusting. They're grotesque. My favorite monster in this film is probably the Doctor with no eyeballs. Not just like with eye sockets, right? But they're sewn shut or something. We're talking like there's nothing here. It's just like skin, okay? Like that's fucking creepy. This movie features one of my favorite tropes, the unreliable narrator. Now, you know, in this movie, it's not a narrator per se. It's just the protagonist who is, you don't know what's real. You don't know what's real. You don't know what's a dream. You don't know what dreams are. You don't know what flashbacks are. This movie, the opening scene takes place in the Vietnam War. The main character is seen being involved in a very gruesome chemical attack. It's very unclear what's going on. There's a lot of like The opening scene alone is a masterpiece. I mean, again, I gotta tell you, this is a perfect movie. It's a perfect fucking movie. But the opening scene shows the main character kneeling on the ground, and he's staring at his friends, his soldiers, his comrades, whatever, as there's explosions, people's body parts are falling off. There's blood everywhere. One of the most gruesome moments is where they show someone who's got his whole, like, below his knee is all, like, destroyed. And then, like, his like, foot is, like, limping off of him and then kind of, like, falls off. It's disgusting. But it's real. It shows, like, real style of, like, warfare. Then it picks up. He wakes up from a dream. And it turns out, you know, he's a Vietnam veteran, and it's just a trauma flashback. And then he goes about, he lives his life, you know, he's a postal worker. And I don't know how to describe this movie. And I say this a lot, and I mean it. And I know a lot of you people don't listen to me. If you have not seen this movie, I need you to, whatever it is you're doing, if you're still listening to this, pause it, bookmark it, go find this movie. I don't care. Skip a meal. If you can't afford it, skip a fucking meal. Don't eat for a day. Fasting for 36 hours can have health benefits anyway. Buy the movie if you need to. Wherever you need to see it, you got to fucking watch this movie. So again, I'm going to get into the heavy spoilers. But this is, I swear to fucking God, if you let me spoil a movie like this, you're destroying your life. It's a cognito hazard, okay? So, as this character is going through his daily life, there's, lots of weird stuff that's happening to him. He, like, falls asleep on a subway, which, by the way, Silent Hill 3... I love the Silent Hill series of video games. I discovered this movie several years ago through the Silent Hill, connection. But I don't think watching this movie several years ago, I did not understand it at the deepest level that I think I understand it now. But again, the subway scene, he wakes up on a subway from another trauma flashback, and he's like, oh shit, I missed my exit or whatever. And then weird stuff starts to happen. He gets off on the subway. All the exits are blocked by chain link fences. What? Sounds familiar if you've played Silent Hill. He sees a subway train car, with, like, strange looking demons or creatures with, like, it's hard to see their faces because, like, the windows, it blurs because the train is moving so fast. But they're all, like, at the windows like this, with their hands up next to them, and they're, like, saying some fucked up, like, looking like weird, you can kind of make out a little blood and just very strange stuff. And so eventually he gets out of the subway, he gets home, he meets the woman he lives with, which is also, it's revealed that he has an ex-wife as well. So, he had a wife, went to Vietnam, something happened, they broke up, his kid died. This is all revealed in this scene, right? He sees a photo of the kid who died, and he starts crying, and it's like a traumatic incident for him. But then, like, the new woman that he's dating, she's super young. She doesn't appreciate, the baggage that he has, and, that's, like, one of the big issues in their relationship is, like, he has kids, and she doesn't, like, whatever. But anyway, turns out that they're also co-workers. They work at the post office together. So again, he goes through his daily life, whatever. Weird stuff is happening. There's a scene where he's getting chased by a car. Very strange, right? But, like, and he tries to explain it to the woman that he's living with, who's also his co-worker. Like, weird stuff is happening to me. I feel like I'm seeing demons. And then she's trying to say, like, they're just homeless people. They're just drug addicts, little fucked up. But again, it's on purpose, right? The messaging here is very purposeful. This movie has a lot of, like, war on drugs kind of stuff in it. So, it's the gaslighting. It's the unreliable narrator. Are we seeing an interpretation of the real world, or are we seeing the world through the eyes of Jacob Singer, who's the primary character in this movie? Also featured in this movie is pre-Seinfeld Jason Alexander, who plays essentially the same character as he plays in Seinfeld, George Costanza. Same acting style. It's really great. So if you want to see some pre-Seinfeld Jason Alexander, check out Jacob's Ladder. But he's like a lawyer. And, at some point, the main character is trying to get a lawsuit going on and doesn't go well. I mean, this movie, my favorite scene, if I were to talk about my favorite scene, is the party scene. There's a scene where we don't know how we got there. Like, there's a lot of, like, again, so that we see, like, throughout the movie, Vietnam War flashbacks. He wakes up somewhere. And that's kind of how, like, the scenes start, is he just wakes up in random areas from a Vietnam flashback, right? One time he's at a party. He's on a subway, right? There's all, he's at home, right? But my favorite scene in this movie, which is also the hardest scene to watch, I literally had to, like, look away. It was very hard to watch. Now, again, I'm on drugs. I'm having an emotional time watching this film. But the scene where he's at the party and there's someone sitting on the stairway, and the symbolism here is extremely important. He's trying to find a bathroom or whatever. He's going up a stairway. There's someone sitting on the stairway. It's like an L shape, right? So there's like a middle portion and then it 90-degree angle, right? So someone's sitting there at the party who's like a hand reader. And the key line here is that the hand reader says, like, she's looking at palms, whatever it is. And she's like, oh, you're already dead. And that's like the first major tell for what's going on in this film, is that this film essentially takes place in the end of life purgatory. That, like, when you die, your brain produces like hallucinations that are based on all of your memories. Now, again, if you've ever, I've done a lot of psychedelic drugs and I've had ego death many times. So this is like something that I would say is similar. When I've experienced ego death, I have experienced dream-like stitching of like random memories, like, oh, I'm like 8 years old and I'm in the house I grew up in. Oh, I'm over here. Oh, I'm over here. Right. So, and now again, that's in a safe way that doesn't involve actually getting killed in Vietnam. Right. But so it explores that kind of concept of being in a purgatory. And again, if you didn't watch this movie and you let me spoil it for you, honestly, I don't say anything about that in the chat, because I'll ban you for a month or something. Because again, I swear to God. But anyway, the party scene is just so hard to watch. There's like bright lights, right? And like he's uncomfortable at this party, right? And it's like a work party. You see people from the post office there. You also, like, again, like the characters. There's so many extras and there's so many characters, but they're like the same people from different parts of his life, but dressed up differently. So a lot of the scenes you see like his fellow soldiers from Vietnam in areas that don't make any sense. You see his coworkers from the post office in areas that don't make any sense, right? And again, you see them in the background. He doesn't acknowledge them a lot of the time. And it's very well done. But the party scene where you have the loud music, you got the flashing lights, and you got like the monsters like tying themselves with the reality, and he has like a trauma episode. And again, throughout the movie, watching this movie for the first time, you're thinking, oh, it's just he's a veteran with PTSD, right? And so when you look at this movie through that lens, right, it's still perfect, right? And that's the thing about this movie, is it plays on so many different kinds of things, like near-death experience, end-of-life experience, PTSD, hallucinogens, right? Like it covers so many really deep topics, but each one is done perfectly. It plays with the U.S. government kidnapping people and sending them to war. That's a big theme in this movie. It's an anti-war movie, of course, right? And it just plays each one with the perfect mood, with the perfect intensity, with the perfect like cautiousness. It's just perfect. It's again, I gotta tell you, it's a perfect movie. And I know a lot of the times I come up here and I tell you that's a perfect movie. this is a perfect movie. And a lot of the times I come up here and say, this movie's okay, whatever. But I need you to understand, when I say a perfect movie, S tier, 10 out of 10, no flaws, it's in a category with other movies that I would say, like Beyond the Black Rainbow. You know, it's a perfect movie. It just it changes the way you look at the world. You know, you watch this shit. Jacob's Ladder is among one of the best movies ever made. So anyway, the party scene is my favorite. It's hard to watch. You know, it's just really hard to watch. I don't like, not just because of the monsters being scary, but just like what the scenes represent. And again, so he just wakes up in like his home. He wakes up in his old life, the pre-Vietnam life, with his, you know, what we understand to be ex-wife. But again, you know, whatever. So he wakes up there and it's like, oh, was the whole movie up until now a dream? What's going on? He says that like he was dreaming. So he talks about to his ex-wife, who's in this timeline now his current wife, saying, oh, I had this dream that my coworker was living with me and that, you know, I went to Vietnam or what, and all that kind of stuff. And then he sees like, you know, his dead kid shows up, and then it's like, oh shit, I dreamed that my kid was dead. And again, watching this movie on mushrooms, it was a hard watch. Like, and again, if you've got, you know, PTSD issues, be very careful watching this you know, because I got some PTSD issues. I've had a lot of bad stuff happen to me in my life. And so like watching a movie like this on drugs is very scary. So again, caution is all I can tell you. But it is, you get a different, watching this movie sober is a different, you're not watching the same movie. You're seeing and appreciating and feel, it's like, like movies that are 3D, right? You know, like, oh, it's coming at me. It's 3D, right? Now, when you watch a movie like this on a psychedelic drug, it's not 3D. It's like 10D, right? You're feeling, it's like 38 dimensions, right? You're feeling every emotional factor in this movie. You're feeling it like viscerally, right? It can trigger you. Watching, again, the party scene for me, it triggered the shit out of me. It was hard to watch. I had to look away. I had to like take moments away from watching the movie just to like not fall into the bad trip zone, right? Like, it's a hard watch. But it's an experience. And again, not every experience needs to be necessarily good, whatever that means. You know, good and bad are just made up terms. But this is an experience that, again, it's like watching a movie in 3D. When you watch a movie like this on a psychedelic drug, you got to be careful. You know, it's like showing a 3D movie to a kid. Oh shit, the shark's going to eat their head off. They might get nightmares. It's like that, but a whole different level. So anyway, you know, the movie progresses. One of my other favorite scenes is the bathtub scene when he has a fever of 106. And like, he just like, so he just wakes up in a random moment of his life and he's sick. He's burning up, right? And his coworker, post office girlfriend now again. So he wakes up and again, in this world, he is sick. He's 106 fever. Right, so the girlfriend throws him in the bathtub, and like, again, the way that like the lead actor, Tim Robbins, I believe, plays it so well. Like the way he's acting delirious, like the way he walks, like he can't walk straight and he falls down, and I mean, again, the scene where they're dumping ice on him. One of the key phrases here is after the fact he said something along the lines of like, I was being burned by ice. And like, you know, that's one of those like brain buster phrases. And it's just, and again, you know, it bleeds into the Vietnam flashbacks of when he's in the Vietnam War, he gets injured. And he's, you know, he's in the medical tent and he's being worked on. They're trying to save his life. And then it bleeds back into the bathtub scene, right? It's just, I mean, I could spend hours I could spend double the amount of time that it takes to watch this movie talking about this movie. Again, it's a perfect movie. I don't say this as often as you might think. I know I try to watch a lot of movies I really like, and I try to watch them many times. So it might sound like I overuse perfect movie. But I swear to God, and I don't believe in God, but this is a perfect movie. I don't even know what to say. Like, it's just a perfect movie. You know, again, so Another factor of this is one of his Vietnam War buddies calls him up after like 5 or 6 years, and says like, I feel like I'm going to hell. And again, the way that they use that phrase, oftentimes when you hear the phrase, I'm going to hell, it's like, oh, I said something racist, I'm going to hell. Oh, I, made fun of a disabled person, I'm going to hell. It's like a flippant, oh, I said something bad, now let me just flippantly say, oh, in the future, I'm going to hell for this, or whatever. That's typically how you use the phrase, I'm going to hell, right? It's a flippant kind of like, I did something fucked up, and in the future, I'm going to go to hell. But his war buddy says, I'm going to hell in a very literal present tense, right? And so his war buddy kind of explains the movie up until that point, and then the protagonist is like, I feel the same thing. I'm going to hell, right? Like, not like in the future, but as in you're literally walking, right, to hell, right? And as you walk deeper into hell, or walk down through the ladder as it is, right? Hell is looking at you, and you see, and you interact with it, right? So it's a very present tense way to use that phrase that's not often used in that fashion. And so one of the themes is that like the Vietnam War buddy gets killed shortly after meeting with him. He says that the demons are chasing him and he's being followed. Later in the film, he tries to group up with the rest of his Vietnam War buddies from his platoon, and they all decide to do the lawsuit. This is where George Costanza comes in. And basically, eventually, all the Vietnam buddies, they back off, they get scared, and they call the protagonist and say, we're out. You're on your own? But the protagonist is still trying to engage in this lawsuit against the U.S. government for the crimes that were committed against him in the war in Vietnam. And that's what the Vietnam War is. It is a crime against humanity, right? And then, again, the symbolism here is very shortly after this part. Government agents kidnap him. Like, they grab him and throw him in the back of a car and tell him to like cut it out, essentially stop asking questions, etc., right? And that's a metaphor for, again, the draft, right? Think about this, right? You're like, the main character is shown to be like he's got a doctorate in the arts or something, like a master's degree, I think, in the arts, right? He's like a philosopher, he's an artist, right? And then he was kidnapped by the US government to go to this war, right? For no reason, to kill innocent people, and the government forces you to. And again, in these so-called wars, the government has been documented doing experiments on their own soldiers, just like putting them in really terrible conditions, right? Just to see what they would do, giving them certain kinds of drugs just to see what they would do, right? And again, it's slavery, it's kidnapping. So again, the metaphor is in a very literal sense, right? They kidnap him, US government agents kidnap him in a car and tell him that he can't do anything about it and to just listen and it gets easier, etc., right? But he escapes them, but in the escaping of the, in escaping the U.S. government agents, he gets injured and ends up going to the hospital. And then again, this is like the climax of the movie is starting. And again, if you've played the Silent Hill games, again, I got 1 and 2 right here because, I always keep them. I always have Silent Hill within arm's reach. You never know when you got to talk about them. But anyway, the hospital scene is like, we're talking like, if you've played Silent Hill PS1, the first one, it's 1-to-1, exactly like the hospital area in Silent Hill. There's the chain link ceiling, the chain link fence attached to the ceiling. There's creatures walking along the fences, right? This is where you see the doctors like operating on him. One of the doctors is his girlfriend from the post office, right? And again, it's just like, when you're in these like weird, and I've been in similar situations when I've experienced ego death on psychedelic drugs, where I will see people, just random people, family members, whatever, friends, whatever, just showing up in context that they've never been in and it's just like in dreams I've had, so it blends the reality. And one of the doctors, the main character is like, get me out of here, please get me out of here. And then one of the doctors is like, there is no out of here. You got killed, remember? You're dying. You're dead. And so, and then he wakes up again, right? He wakes up, and that's one of the themes of this movie is he constantly is waking up in a new context, and every context doesn't make sense. And it's just, I don't even know how to describe it, man. I mean, this movie is perfect. Once again, it's a perfect movie. The music is perfect. The cinematography, and how, like, one of my favorite aspects of the cinematography is the lighting. This movie has a lot of really explicit usages of lighting. Like when he's talking to his Vietnam buddy in the bar scene, and then, like, there's, like, all the blinds are closed, but then there's one part where he looks outside and you see the light peer in, right? There's just so much in this movie. That you can talk about. I mean, again, it's a perfect movie. You have to watch it. If you've seen it before, watch it again. If you've seen it sober, again, proceed with caution. But, if that's something you're interested in, watching a movie like this on drugs is scary. I mean, again, it's very scary. It's like watching a 3D movie, except instead of it being 3D, it's like 38 dimensions. It's like 69 dimensions, right? You're experiencing the film on levels that you just cannot do without drugs. And again, it's not for everybody. Proceed with caution. I would say start on the low end and not on the high end, be very careful. But this is a movie that just totally destroys, it just destroys your brain, man. It's fucked up. It's scary. It's horrifying. There's just so much to it. It's a very political movie, right? The whole movie is basically a condemnation of the war on drugs and the Vietnam War and the draft. That's essentially the whole movie is just a condemnation of the government's actions throughout the 1960s and 70s. It's just a perfect movie, man. You gotta watch it. Jacob's Ladder. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, fuck. I mean, shit. I mean, I don't even, like, what else can you say about it? It's a perfect fucking movie. I could go on and describe every scene in depth, but I think I've said enough. Watch the movie now. Like, as soon as the stream is over, find out where you can watch it. I don't care. Oh, I don't know, blah, 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 but whatever excuse you want to come up with, I don't give a fuck. Skip a meal if you have to, right? Sell some personal belongings at a pawn shop if you have to. Watch this movie. It will change your life. It's crazy. It's crazy. If you're after, like, dark, visceral, cerebral, and again, horror, not in, like, in the cheesy Frankenstein monster movie horror, which I love. No offense to that. But this is horror in like you need to develop a new word to describe how horrifying it is. Again, it is a terrifying movie. It is probably the scariest movie I've ever seen on drugs. I've watched, one of the things I like to do is, do some mushrooms and watch horror movies. I watched The Shining. I've watched, all the Panos Cosmatos movies on mushrooms, and this movie was the hardest to get through. It is, I mean, The Shining is a hard movie to get through on mushrooms, but this movie, I mean, again, there were so many instances where I was scared for my life. I mean, it's a very difficult movie to watch. But again, even if you watch it sober, it's worth it. It's a great movie. It's a perfect movie. Maybe one of the best movies ever made. Again, if I were to construct a list of, like, the top 10 movies ever made, Jacob's Ladder is on it. It's a perfect film. Go watch it. So anyway, there's that. There's your half an hour review of Jacob's Ladder. I don't know how long it was, but it felt like half an hour. Goddamn! Fuck! Go watch that shit. Go watch that shit, alright? Jesus. This is the same costume I was wearing yesterday. I haven't changed my clothes, so I don't, that's a whole different story about my rotating wardrobe is a whole different story, but yes, this is the same costume I was wearing yesterday. But anyway, it's a scary ass movie. Let me tell you, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's a scary ass movie. Like, it's a movie that if you have PTSD, this movie's gonna fuck you up. If you've been to war, this movie's gonna fuck you up. if you've ever had like a near-death experience, it's gonna fuck you up. It's a scary ass motherfucking movie. So anyway, Q-Cock, questions, comments, or concerns. If you're concerned over, the story I just told you of me watching a film like this on drugs, if you're concerned about that, maybe I shouldn't be doing these things, feel free to let me know. But Q-Cock, there you go. If you got anything, lay it on me. I've never seen Gremlins. I gotta check it out. Oh. It's good to fuck your brain up just as long as you can keep your shit together enough to know it's the drugs. There's a line where if you cross it, you forget it's the drugs and you're fucked. Oh, I've been there. And yes, home. When I talk about watching movies on psychedelics, I try to enter that zone that you're describing, where you're on the line, right? You're about to fall in, but you're not, right? I would not recommend doing 10 grams of mushrooms and watching Jacob's Ladder, right? Don't do that, right? Do enough to get to the point where you're considerably fucked up, but not enough to get to the point where you're experiencing a full-blown psychotic episode, which can happen on that kind of stuff, right? So again, it's you got to know where the line is, and it takes a lot of that's the thing, is it takes a lot of self-experimentation to know where that line is, right? It's a lot of you got to try it a lot. You got to, and you'll overshoot it sometimes. You'll overshoot the line and be careful when you do that. But you just, when you watch something like Jacob's Ladder, be careful, man. Holy fuck. Because, yeah. So whenever I talk about watching a movie, especially a horror film, stuff that's fun. You can maybe, if you're trying to do experimentation, if you're watching Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, that's a great movie to overshoot on, right? Because that movie's just silly. There's a couple of parts in it that are, that could be a little scary, but something like that is going to be, that's an experiment. But if you're watching a horror film like The Shining or especially Jacob's Ladder, be more cautious than you would normally be on that kind of stuff. But yeah, I got to stay on one side of the line in some instances. An actual cloud, $10. Andrea, would you please create another Discord server or kick everyone off the current one? The community there is not reflective of your opinion, and I can't hang out there. Well, first of all, I don't really use Discord. I don't use social media as much as I used to. I used to be a Discord fiend. I used to be on Twitter all day, every day. I don't really do that anymore. And so as a result, I have a server that the primary use of the server is for people to tell other people when I'm doing a stream. I have got a lot of people that have complained to me about arguments that happen in the Discord. I know a lot of people don't like some of the people in the Discord. Personally, my opinion is I would prefer everyone in my audience. You can disagree, right? That's fine. But the yelling and name calling, I guess you can't yell in a text chat, but the name calling to me, I think is a little silly. And I'm trying to be very nuanced here, right? I know. Sometimes I look at my Discord server and, I think of interacting and I see people arguing about Ukraine and I'm just and it's I think people should be allowed to disagree on these things. Maybe what I should do is create maybe I thought I did do this. I really thought I did do this. I'm not sure. But create another channel where people discuss that stuff and then have another channel that's just don't discuss that stuff. You know what I mean? The idea of destroying the whole Discord server to me is not worth it. But I want to create a kind of an environment where if you want to have a very hot take debate, you should be able to do it respectfully and to know, you have to be able, it's just respectfully. And I know that everyone involved, I get it. Everyone involved, I honestly would prefer no one to argue in my Discord server. A lot of people that are in my Discord server are not people that watch my live stream. That's another thing that I know, right? The people that watch my live stream are people that are able to watch my content at 10 o'clock in the morning. And not everyone in my audience that subscribes to me or that likes my content or whatever is able to watch the live stream at 10 o'clock in the morning. So there's a lot of people that watch the clips that I post, and they only watch the clips that I post. There's a lot of people that watch this stream, but they watch it later in the day when they get home from work, or they watch yesterday's episode in the morning before work. Because, you know, sometimes people work at like 8 and they can't watch the live, but they, you know, so, you know, that is something that needs to be understood. There's a lot of people that don't show up here that watch my show. There's a lot of people that subscribe to me and they maybe aren't necessarily super fans of me, or whatever, but they like me enough to want to join the Discord or whatever. You know, I would prefer to have no moderation as another topic. I would prefer to have no moderation in my Discord server. But it is unfortunate. But again, transgender person on the internet, right? So neo-Nazis will often try to harass people in my Discord server. Neo-Nazis will often join my Discord server and post really awful stuff, right? So again, the no moderation thing, because of that, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And so the other option is have a verification system, which that requires upkeep. It requires maintenance. And then I don't want to gatekeep people that would want to join the server in good faith. So, you know, I understand the complaints. I don't want anyone to feel compelled. Like, again, my Discord server is an area to exist to discuss whatever the fuck you want. Maybe I should format the channels better. You know, maybe I should be stricter on what topics are allowed in what channel. But, like, I'm not good in groups, okay? I need you to understand this. I am not good in groups, okay? The only reason I'm able to do this live stream is because I'm talking to a fucking webcam. Like, if I were seeing y'all on a webcam on my screen, I'd freeze up, right? If I'm, like, in a group conversation, I can't do that. I am not good in groups. But I don't know what you mean when you say this community. Like, people that watch my live stream are a different group of people than people that are in the Discord or that people that follow me on Twitter, right? You know, like, there's an amalgamation, right? And you can like the live stream chat community, right, without liking the other people that are maybe less involved or what, and that's fine. But, like, I don't know what to do about it. I really don't. I know. The only possible thing I can think about is having explicit channels for explicit topics. Like, if people want to argue about Ukraine, do it in a different channel. And if you don't do that in a different channel, I guess there needs to be moderation. I don't know. I don't want to fucking... I just don't like it. I don't like it. I would prefer not to have a Discord at all. But the value of having a Discord is that, let's say I do have a YouTube strike. It's a good place for notifications. Should I just have a Discord where there's no talking and it's just like a notification list? Like, you join it to get on a notification list? I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. So, because either way, right, no matter what I do, I'm going to have people yell and complain. And I don't want to deal with people yelling and complaining. I don't want to deal with people sending me fucking messages, oh, how dare you say this, and I'm not saying that that's what you're doing, Cloud. I understand you're going about it in a more respectful way than other people have, for sure, so I don't want to lump you in there. But it's like, I don't know what to do. All I hope is that you, like, I am my own person, right? I am my own person, right? I can't help what people who watch my videos. My ideal, you know, is that people who watch my videos will slowly change their opinions and reflect my worldview over time. But that, you know, it takes time, right? Like, there are people that have started watching me that may be conservatives and have moved left, right? Like, I've had people send me messages like, I found you, and, you know, the first time I saw you, I was like, oh, disgusting tranny. And, you know, the more I listen to you, actually, you make sense on a lot of issues. And now I don't hate transgender people anymore. That's great, right? My ideal is wherever you are on whatever spectrums you find me, my goal is to make you think more like myself. That's it, right? So, you know, if I policed my Discord more to create a system where only people that are allowed to talk there are people that agree with me already, I feel like that is not necessarily in line with what my vision is, you know? So it's a complicated topic. If you don't like talking in there, that's fine. I get it. I don't like talking in Discord in general. I hate social media. I hate group chats. I hate it all. I think it's all bad, okay? But there is like a use case. Again, notification list. I do deal with YouTube strikes a lot. I got a YouTube strike less than a month ago, right? So it's useful for getting information out there in like an emergency system. I don't know. I don't know how to solve the problem. Other than just understand I am my own person. People that are within my orbit can have a huge spectrum of beliefs. And my goal is to make them think more like me. I understand some people in my Discord server think all Ukrainians are neo-Nazis or whatever. I think on that position, they're fucking dumb. They have a low IQ when it comes to that. I would prefer to not kick them. I would prefer for them, if they already watch me, right, I would prefer to use that privilege that I have as being a member of their media diet to fight back against whatever propaganda they might believe in. So, you know, and I notice it, you know, I notice over time, a lot of people might find me, they might have some reactionary opinions. I've had people like come out to me and say, oh, you know, I first saw you when you made a Jimmy Dore video 2 years ago, and I thought you were crazy. Then I found another video of yours, and then you made a lot more sense, and now, you know, so, you know, I don't know. I really don't. Goddamn Cloud, you're starting to sound like some MAGA going on. Make Discord great again. But yeah, maybe I should do a reformat. I don't know. I'm kind of just kicking the can on this issue. Yeah, if you don't like the Discord, don't use it. Don't feel compelled, you know, to use it. Don't feel like you're not being a good subscriber if you don't use it. Don't feel like, you know, you're not supporting me if you don't use it. Like, if you don't want to use it, if you don't want to have those discussions with those people, don't do it. It's fine. Again, I don't use my Discord. It's my Discord server, and I try to check it like once a week. So, I try to check that shit once a week. So I don't use my Discord server. So if I don't use it, I don't think anyone else should be compelled to use it. And I, you know, would it be a better world if I had a Discord server that I was always engaging in? Sure. My brain, mental health wise, I can't handle that. I just can't. I've tried it. I've really tried it. I've tried it, and I just can't do it. I can't be plugged into that kind of social media all the time. I just can't do it. So I made the decision to just be hands off. And, you know, I hope that if you have a similar issue that I had, that you just hands off, you know. That's just all I can say on that. So. But anyway, that's my show for today. I hope that I was destroying everyone's brains with nuance and logic. as that is my goal in life. But you know, go watch Jacob's Ladder. I'm telling you, I don't fuck whatever excuse. Oh, I don't know where to watch it. Do you not have an internet connection? If you need to, pirate the fucking movie. I don't give a shit. Okay, it was made in 1990. The director's not getting fucking residuals from that shit anyway. Pirate it if you need to. I don't care. Oh, but I don't have money for... What do you mean you don't have money? Fucking just skip a day. You don't need to eat every day. I'm telling you this. 36 hours. Now, again, if you're like diabetic or you have some underlying health condition, you know, I'm not talking to you. If you're not, one of those things, do a 24-hour fast. You don't need to eat every day. And I know you might be thinking to yourself, oh, look at Andrea encouraging her viewers to starve to watch an artistic masterpiece. Yeah, I'm telling you this right now. If you rent Jacob's Ladder on like Amazon for $3, right, whatever it is, I don't know what it is, that is, like, that's going to change your life. You going and heating up a Hot Pocket, that's not changing your fucking life, okay? Fuck that Hot Pocket. Fuck that White Castle slider. Fuck you. Go watch Jacob's Ladder. Whatever excuse that you want to come up with, I don't give a shit, okay? I don't motherfucking care, okay? Buy that motherfucking shit on Blu-ray. If you want to, if you need to. Watch it 30 times. I'm telling you that shit's going to change your fucking life, okay? So anyway, also, subscribe to my Doom channel, motherfuckers. What the hell? How many times do I need to goddamn ask you crazy psychopathic freaks? Subscribe. Anyway, thank you all. Have a good one. And that's all I got.
$7 million for reef fish management, $25 million to combat Asian carp, $2.5 million to count the number of amberjack fish in the Gulf of Mexico. Everybody comes in your grandmother year. Everybody comes in your grandmother year. Running against the worst candidate in the history of presidential politics puts pressure on me. Can you imagine if I lose my whole life? What am I going to do? I'm going to say, I lost to the worst candidate in the history of politics. I'm not going to feel so good. Maybe I'll have to leave the country. I don't know.
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day. Every day it is time for us to agree.
Oh, seriously, hot sauce. I've been eating a lot of hot sauce, a lot of raw peppers and hot sauce.
The really, I hate to say this, but those with the lowest IQ